The Glasgow bin lorry inquiry into the deaths of 6 people has heard that the driver is not selfish or a coward. The inquiry has heard Harry Clarke, 58, was unconscious when the lorry veered out of control on the 22nd of December 2014. During the inquiry, he refused to answer questions about alleged lies he told over a previous blackout in 2010 as he could face private prosecution. Mr. Clarke's QC, Paul Reid, told the inquiry it was lamentable his client had been branded selfish and a coward. In his closing submission to the fatal accident inquiry, FAI, at Glasgow Sheriff Court, Mr. Reid said, "Harry Clarke does not doubt for a moment the unimaginable grief, loss and sadness that the families of the victims must have suffered. Tragic events." Mr. Reid then offered his condolences to the victims' families on behalf of himself and his client. He added, "Harry Clarke does not seek to blame others for the tragic events of that day." The inquiry has previously heard how Mr. Clarke did not disclose his medical history, including a loss of consciousness at the wheel of a bus in 2010, when applying for a job with Glasgow City Council or in subsequent LGV licence renewals. When he came to Glasgow Sheriff Court to give evidence to the inquiry, Mr. Clarke was warned by Sheriff John Beckett he did not have to answer questions which could incriminate him, as the families of some of the victims had signalled their intention to raise a private prosecution against him. The Crown Office had already ruled out any criminal prosecutions over the deaths earlier in the year. Mr. Reid said it was his client's intention to answer any questions put to him at the inquiry until the theoretical prospect of a private prosecution became reality. Mr. Reid said, "He has been described as selfish and a coward. That is unfair and denigrates the privilege he was invoking. It is lamentable that he was attacked so readily and frequently." When appearing at the inquiry, Mr. Clarke was told by one lawyer that the tragedy was all your fault. Mr. Reid said that was unfair and unfounded. He said his client had never been told by any medical professional prior to December 2014 that his medical history made him unfit to drive. Mr. Reid said no advice had been given for him to inform the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency, DVLA, and that it was reasonable to rely on doctors. The FAI, which is looking at the health of Mr. Clarke, the Glasgow City Council bin lorry and its route, is drawing to a close.